Hello and welcome to the Avrum Rosensweig Show.
Welcome to one of the internet's best podcasts, where we dive deep into the lives of the extraordinary and fascinating people who leave an indelible mark on our world. Join us as we explore their captivating stories, remarkable achievements, and unique perspectives that shape history and inspire generations. Get ready to embark on a journey through the lives of inspiring people unlike any other.
Hi, folks, and welcome to the show. My name is indeed Avrum Rosensweig, and I'm delighted to be here with you. Before the interview starts, I usually like to do sort of a quick thought on what we are trying to do here within this interview. And what I would say today is my guest, Gerri Willis. How are you, Gerri?
I'm very good. Thank you. I can hope I can live up to your intro for the
I'm sure
goodness
you can.
sakes.
The intro is such that I am fascinated by individuals who accomplish great things and big things because it takes a lot of tenacity, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of courage and bravery. And when you take a look at my guest today, you will see that what she has done with her life to date, and as we say in Hebrew, ad me'av esrim, until 120 you should live, that it is clearly a journey that she was on that is not an easy one. That is not a simple one. She is a graduate and an award winner in an academic way. She is a journalist. She works with Fox Business Network, and she is also an author. Um, and we're going to talk about all of that today. But I think the thing that people focus on the most when it comes to individuals who are being challenged by health is how are they doing? How did they get through it? What was that road like? And Gerri is a had breast cancer, and she overcame it. Thank God. And she is here to
Thank
talk
you.
about it. And I find her, just in the few minutes that I've known her, to be just a lovely, warm human being. So thank you so much for joining me, Gerri.
Thank you, Avram. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well,
I'm partial to really nice Canadians. What
yeah,
can I
have you
say?
met not nice Canadians? You have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, your husband's Canadian, right?
I'm just getting
No, it's
myself in
okay.
trouble.
Okay.
My husband's
Does,
Canadian. My husband
does
is
he have a
Canadian.
side to him which is like his name's David, right? Which is David. Come on, don't
Right.
go there, man. That's not a nice side of you. You're Canadian. Does he have any of that?
Well, you know, of course. But when you live with somebody for 31
Yeah.
years, as I have that side too.
What does
You
it look
know,
like when it comes out? Yeah.
mine, I'm
Are you?
impatient. Let's go. Let's go. Let's make it happen. Boom, boom,
But
boom.
are you
Typical
nice?
New
You
York.
work on Fox. You used to work on CNN. Are you nice on the set? I know when you're getting ready for a newscast, talk about business, there can be a lot of stress. I used to do a restaurant and food show here in Toronto on CFRB and Talk 640. And before we went to air, especially because of who my partner was, he was all over the place. I would get really nervous. We'd have like 20 people in the studio. Are you
Yeah.
good with the people you work with, or do you lose it at all?
So I haven't been in television my entire life, right? I was a print journalist forever. And that is in many ways sort of a
That's okay.
apologies. That's a solo, performance in many ways. But television is by definition a team performance. You absolutely must be nice to absolutely everyone you work with, from the guy miking you or a woman miking you to your producer, your co-host, whoever you're dealing with. You've got to have a sense of humor. One producer told me something I've always remembered. When I got upset about something, this producer said, "Gerri, it's television.
Yeah.
Nobody dies."
Yeah.
I mean, like it's TV, it's here and gone. And no one will remember the last thing you said before the break. I mean, it's just in one ear, out the other half the time. That's not to say I don't take it seriously. And I think it's important that we report the facts and that we do what we're supposed to. But it's television. It's, by definition, it's ephemeral.
Are you always comfortable on television? Are there any times before you
Oh,
go there
no.
where you feel like you're
No.
going to laugh your head off or cry about something?
Um, I do have a lot of anxiety. I'm not gonna lie to you. I try to transform that into excitement, um, and allow it to give me energy, right? I mean, that's one way to deal with it. Um, but because I've been doing this a long time, I have less and less of that anxiety, and I'm more listening in than I've ever been in my career because there's so much going on if you just listen to people. I mean, that may sound really boring or not thought out, but that's kind of where my mind is now when I'm on set with people, is just trying to understand who they are and why they're saying what they're
Well,
saying.
when I used to do radio and TV, I felt I went through the imposter syndrome, which I think an awful lot of people go through. And Jordan Peterson actually said there's some validity to it. It actually makes sense, and it's not a bad thing because it means you're starting out and you
Yeah,
recognize you're not as great as that guy who's been doing it for 30 years, right? Did you have that though at all, the imposter syndrome?
you have
I
no
get it. Yeah.
idea. So CNN brought me in to host a show before I had any experience in television whatsoever. I mean, I had been doing live shots as a personal finance expert on national TV, on like Good Morning America and stuff like that, but I had no television training. And so they brought me in to test me in front of a camera, and they gave me an earpiece, and I'm hearing the control room, and they gave me something to read on camera. And so, I'm reading the material like in this kind of monotone, and I hear in my ear, bigger. So I take that to mean
Yeah.
louder. So I read it louder. Again, I hear bigger. And we do this 2 or 3 or 4 times. Strangely, they hire me and they gave me a job as an anchor. Well, the downside of that is because television is a team sport, you go in this role and you have no idea what the other people are doing. It's a dangerous
Yeah.
place to be. You have to ask a lot of questions and start to understand the process. So I did that for a while. Felt like a complete imposter most of the time. And it really hamstrung me for many years, because didn't, I was very self conscious, not necessarily about my looks, but about my performance. That's what I was worried about. I wanted the performance to be good. Um, and it's only in the last few years, I feel like I've been willing to do different things that I've never done before on air that actually have
Like what?
worked
Like,
out. Um, I can't even explain it to you. It's hard to put into words. It's more, for example, I appear quite frequently on a program that is a large, and this is difficult to pull off. It's a panel discussion. You know
yeah.
panels, right? It can be a disaster if you're not careful. But increasingly in those panels, I feel okay with talking very personally about my life. Um, and one time we had a conversation about drugs, drug use, and I've had, members of my family have had problems with drug use. And I talked about that, right, as a way to kind of relating to the audience, bringing them in and telling them how that informed my opinion of what policy should be, as a member of a family. And, everybody and their mother is in that situation, right? It's so commonplace. So that's the kind of thing that I wouldn't have done when I first started out because I thought I was supposed to be a nice, neat little prepackaged journalist. Um, but now I'm more willing to kind of, what's the phrase, open the kimono and share more.
You know what I find very curious about public figures such as yourself is that when things happen in your life, they are indeed put out there in the spotlight. I was watching a bunch of your shows prior to this interview. I want, yeah,
Oh my
I
goodness.
wanted.
Oh my goodness. You didn't tell me you were going to do
Sorry,
that.
I should have told you.
Okay.
I'm so sorry about that. I was remiss.
Sorry, not sorry.
We should have a bond friendship, Gerri, you and I. I'll try to fix these things. But I'm watching, and one of your colleagues, I'm sorry, I don't remember her name. She does a very short piece about business, right? And she said today, instead of me talking about some thoughts on business, I'm going to talk to you about my dear friend and colleague Gerri. And she said she's just found out that she was diagnosed with breast cancer, stage 3. And then she went on to wish you well and to send you out prayers and to ask the listeners and viewers to do the same. I've had 3 heart attacks. And after I
Oh
know,
my
honestly,
goodness.
and then after my first heart attack, I wrote an article in the Canadian Jewish News about it, what I went through, the difficulties of it, the intimacies of it. My cardiologist came to me, Bradley, and he said, Avrum, why did you do that? That's private. I said, that's why I did it, because I want to know what's happening. Other people should know what's happening in my private world. What was your response to your colleagues talking about your cancer on the air, on Fox, in front of millions of people?
Well, our teams were fantastic. I mean, even management was fantastic. If I got a call from management while I was in treatment, the question was not, when are you coming back? It was, what can we get you? What do you need? How you doing? It was like that. And the audience, maybe because I'd been so public about it, was unbelievably lovely. I mean, I would get suggestions for sleep aids or things to eat during chemo or just all kinds of conversation. They were unbelievably lovely. I mean, I will always remember that. It was really meaningful to me, the support I got from our audience. For me, the reason I was so public about the whole experience is that it affects like 1 in 8 women in the US. And nobody tells you like what to expect or what it's like. You know, I'm a public figure. I owe it to that audience to share that. It's not something that I do because I'm nice. It's a debt, you know? They watch us, they support us. I have to do the right thing and share that story.
Mm-hmm. My sister,
That's the way I
my
felt.
sister Naomi, who's passed away during COVID, she said to me after I had my heart attack, "Do you feel that your body is sort of trespassing you, like you don't know it anymore?"
Your body is what?
Kind of trespassing. It's yeah,
Oh,
stepping over a line that you don't know. It's almost working against you. And I thought it's a very interesting way of looking at it. Usually, if I have a cold or if I have the flu or I just had COVID last week, I know what's going on. And therefore, I have a sense of, okay, I can control this. But when I had this pain in my heart and when things went badly and I was rushed to the hospital, I didn't know what was going on. And that was the terrifying part of it. What was it like for
yes.
you when you first
Oof.
found out?
Wow. Whew. So, it was, you know, I the nipple on my right breast inverted. So imagine it moves into your
Yes.
body, and I knew something was wrong. And, I went to go see my primary care physician, and she looked at me and she was like, "Okay, we need to get this tested." And I said to her, believe it or not, "Okay, I can do
Right.
that next
Mm,
week." She was like, "No, you're
yeah.
going now, right
Yeah.
now." And then when I had it scanned, I could tell from the women who were doing the scanning that they looked at me like, they didn't do that thing that nurses sometimes do where they sit back and kind of smile and say, like seem very relaxed. These women did not seem relaxed. I knew there was an issue. Um, but the scariest time was really before all the surgeries, before everything happened, and you probably know this, having had
Mm,
3 heart attacks. Um, you've got a treatment regimen to follow, and mine included several surgeries, chemo, radiation, and you look at that and your mind cannot embrace all of that at one time. And you're used to like looking at the mountain and figuring out how you're going to get up. But you really can't do that when you're faced with that much intense negative information, right? You got to do it one step at a time. And so I just plotted my way through breast cancer treatment. I embraced the people who were giving me care, the people I came in contact with. I took my time with it. I made sure I did it. That was my job. My job was getting better. My job was getting through that because I had to be here for David and, of course, my puppy. Nothing happens
Yes.
without Rufus. Um, but that was the most, I was just overwhelmed. And then you go through this whole thing, I think, and let me know if you went through this, where you realize how close you've come, right?
Yes.
And you become incredibly grateful. And you feel like you've been blessed somehow to have been awakened from a dream where you were focused on all the wrong things, right? And it's really and truly a moment where you are closer to yourself than you've ever been. It's spiritual. Did you have that?
Yeah, I think first time around, it was like, okay, this is not a big deal. I'll get through it. I was very sad because I was 47. And when I went into rehab, everybody was probably, I think the average age in that room was close to deceased. It was about 80 years old. And that's sad. Like you look at yourself and you go, I'm so young. Like God, why are you putting me through this? But then the second and third, you start to think to yourself, I have a son who's 19, beautiful boy. Thank God his name is Noah River. And I don't want him to be so young without a dad. And that was a really big piece. And then, Jerry, I don't know if
Mm.
you go through this, but I looked at the other side and I think about God a lot and I think about the other side a lot. I'm not religious, but I'm very, very traditional and ritualistic. And I learn a lot of Torah and teach. And I think, okay, my sister's there, my father's there, my mother, my brother-in-law is there. Many people I know have died. And I think about the other side, and I wonder where will that take me? Did you think about the other side?
My spirituality was more focused on the right now in my life, what was around me. Um, we were up here in the Berkshires. I did most of my recovery up here, and it's in the mountains. And that is really where my mind was, here and now. Because for me, I felt this urgency to live every moment to the fullest that I could. So that's where my
How
mind
was
was at.
David throughout all this?
Oh my goodness gracious. See, now if it had been him, I would have been completely flipped out and telling him that I needed support through the whole thing because I'm flipped out. He gave me so much confidence by just engaging with me on what we needed to get done. It was always, "Okay, that's great. You look good today. You don't look," like he treated it as not a cold job, but as something we had to do together and get through together. And I never saw a look on his face because I lost a lot of weight. I'm sure I looked like absolute crap. Um, I never saw a look on his face where I thought he looked scared
Yeah.
or worried. It was phenomenal. It was truly, it's one of the reasons I recovered.
Let me ask you this: dogs are known for their ability to sniff out cancer. How was your dog Rufus during this process?
Well, Rue really actually, we didn't get him until after. I think I put those two things together and they didn't belong there. We've had Rufus for 4 years. He weighs 8 pounds. He is a cuddly
Yeah.
toy poodle who is very smart. And, I'm sure if I were to get it again, I'm kind of relying on him to know.
Yeah, I've had experiences. I've had cats. Years ago, I had a shepherd for 14 years, but I'm not in a position now to take care of a dog, so, regularly. And even my cat, when I'm not well, will jump up on me and cuddle with me and give me this incredible sense that he has somehow an awareness of what I'm going through. And I think to myself,
Aw.
my God, animals are just absolutely magnificent. Aren't
They're
they
the
the best?
best. They're the best. Oh my goodness. Rufus is just David, this is so funny. We get Rufus. David did not want a dog, right? I finally talked him into it. It was a long story about how it happened, but I was devious and conniving in getting that dog. We get the dog in the house. 3 months later, David turns to me and he says, Gerri, there's more love in the house because of
That's right.
Rufus.
You know,
He
it's
was
interesting.
right.
How does that work? How do you think that works?
I don't, so I think that David is more attached to Rufus than
Yeah.
I even am. Yeah, he adores Rufus makes him laugh all the time.
Does it?
All the time. He starts the day laughing because Rufus is doing something silly. And he just delights him. David finds him delightful. For me, it's fun to see that, right? I love seeing
Do you
that.
walk your dog in the mountains off lead? Not off.
No, he's just a little baby. He's 8 pounds and there are black bears and there's a lot of foxes in our neighborhood. I just worry about him being consumed.
Yeah, rightfully so. The fox ate the dog. Exactly. Yes. Now, one of the things in your life is that you're a writer, written a few books, and the book that I want to talk about today is called Lincoln's Lady Spymaster. Very incredible. Like Kolakavod, way to go! Wonderful piece of work. Really.
Thank you.
I started up a writers club. Perhaps you can come as a guest, and they're all
Yes.
accomplished authors, and I've learned so much about authors and what they go through. I myself have not written a novel, not yet, but I'd like to, and that's why I started up the writers club. But I know the level of perseverance and the level of discipline that these writers have, Gerri, which I'm sure you had, to me is absolutely incredible. Some of them sit for 8 hours a day writing. One of them, Brian, a very dear friend of mine, a lovely human being, he writes pen to paper. Yeah, pen to paper. Yeah.
Oh my
So,
Lord.
what was that process like for you?
Okay. If you were on the world's most gigantic roller
Yeah.
coaster and they made you sit at the top for 5 hours, I was just completely freaked out and scared because I had never done it before. I've never written history. After I signed the contract, there was that 2 days afterwards where I was thinking, "What was I thinking? I have no idea how to do this." I really don't know. So I just tried to, like cancer, that was my teacher. Break it down, one step at a time, break it down, break it down. And I found the material fascinating, and that helped a lot. And I came to absolutely adore my subject. I loved her. When it was over, I was weeping because I had her with me for the better part of 2.5 years. And it was hard to see her go. It's bizarre the relationship that you develop with your content, with your material, with the people you're writing about.
How would you define that relationship?
So, strangely for her, she was like the older sister that I always wished I had. She was showing me how to be a leader. She was showing me how to motivate people, how to make things happen. Make things happen that, you really shouldn't be doing that. You don't have any business doing that. And she showed me step by step how she became a spy master during the Civil War, living in the capital of the Confederacy, a daughter of the South, turns her back on everybody she knows, her friends, some members of her family, neighbors, and pursues work that is inherently dangerous. She didn't have to do it. She was wealthy. She could have left the city, moved north, taken her entire family. She opts not to. She stays. She fights. She fights for 2 reasons. And I'm sorry I'm going on too long about this.
No,
She
go on.
fights. She fights because she abhors slavery and believes that it poisons all of society. And she also believes the other reason is that she's a Virginian. And this may not be clear to a Canadian audience, but Virginia, one of the first states, Three of the four first presidents come from Virginia, really a legacy state that critical to the foundation of the country. And she feels like that state should be leading the country, not leaving the country. So she was just an inspiration. And there were times that I felt like she's running after the Confederates trying to get information as a spy, and I'm running after her. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like, that movie National Treasure?
Yes. Yes.
It was like I felt like that. I was discovering all these interesting things, all these interesting stories, things that I never understood. I realized that a lot of things that I believed about A, the South at that time, B, the Civil War, were completely wrong. I mean, and I'm from that world. I'm from North Carolina. Uh, so it was the process for me was fascinating.
A few weeks ago, I interviewed an author out of the UK. Her name is Wendy. I can't remember her last name. She wrote a book called The Teacher of Auschwitz, and it was
Oh,
about a fellow by the name of Freddie Hirsch. And Freddie went into Auschwitz, and he convinced the SS to set up a barracks for children under the auspices of they'll stay out of your way.
huh.
Within that barrack, he taught them German, he taught them other languages, he taught them math, and he taught them creativity. And it's an incredible story. And I said to Wendy, "Did you fall in love with Freddie while you were writing one?" She said, "I absolutely did." She said,
Yeah,
and
totally.
which is similar
Like
with you and
just
Elizabeth.
yes, absolutely. I don't think she was an easy person to love, by the way, because she did not suffer fools gladly.
Yes.
She was convinced of the rightness of her opinions, somewhat strident, like a little tiny dynamo, probably 5'4". Um, ran a household, a big household, lived in a fabulous mansion on the top of a hill in Richmond. She'd been in, it was normal for their household to host a Supreme Court justice, a European opera star. Edgar Allan Poe read The Raven in the parlor to a bunch of twittering Southern belles. I mean, she was part of the belle monde, right? And she makes a choice that results in her being ostracized by all of society,
And dying somewhat poor, right?
dying very poor. Um, she, you know, I mean, she had this fabulous house. So ended up writing this first chapter. I probably shouldn't tell this because it gives it away. But by the end of her life, her house was nearly empty because she had given away so many things. She was very generous. I know I told you about the tough side of her personality, but she was also very, very generous, gave away things to people who were poor, people who were
Prisoners.
needy, slaves, prisoners. Um, so, they didn't really have a blanket in their house by the end of the
Mhm.
war. Um, it's just an astonishing story of a woman who saw something that needed to be done and did it, executed it well. Uh, she sent her reports directly to the battlefield desk of Ulysses S.
Mm.
Grant. And some of those reports then went on to Lincoln, and she wrote them. And she took such pride in that, developed a spy ring. She picked out people who had been imprisoned for being spies and made them part of her spy ring. She worked with people. One thing that's interesting to me, high and low, right? There were a lot of strangely, I didn't know this is one of the things I didn't understand about society at that time, particularly in Richmond, one of the bigger cities. It was industrial, had a very big industrial base, and there were Germans and Irish and English who worked there who had come because of the industry. Many of them worked for her because some of them did not like the direction of the state. So they helped her out. And as the war went on, and as Richmond became a worse and worse place to live, and the future seemed precarious at best, more and more Richmonders started contributing to what she was doing.
Elizabeth Van Lew was her name. I was very curious about spies, why spies do what they do, why some people are spies and some aren't. Here's a couple of reasons, a couple of character traits of spies. They're very courageous. They have great adaptability, which Elizabeth did. emotional resilience, resourcefulness, and discipline. The discipline to respond when things are really, really tough and difficult. In terms of why some people can be spies and others not, according to AI, it's a personality trait. Some people naturally have traits like high risk, tolerance, emotional resilience, and a strong sense of duty. These traits, often rooted in genetics or early life experiences, make them more suited to handle the stress and danger of espionage. Others may lack these traits or have higher risk aversion, making perilous roles less appealing. In the depth of your soul, Gerri, do you see yourself in Elizabeth?
Oh no, I wish I
You don't at
did.
all?
I wish I did. I mean, I share her if I had been her, I would have shared her anger and frustration and, just disappointment at what was going on around me. Would I have had the gumption to do what she did? You know what? I've read several books about women spies, and one of the things that you learn is that it doesn't happen all of a go, right? You don't go from step number 1, I'm a modest little girl doing XYZ, and the next day you're like a hardcore spy. It's step by step, and I think inevitably what happens is you just keep pushing the ball up the road, right? And you keep doing more and more and more because you can, because you see a way to do it, because you enjoy trying to figure out how to advance the ball, how to put a spy in the White House of the Confederacy, how to put a spy in the Confederate war machine, in the Navy Department, how to end up actually running the prison system because you've bribed everybody you can find. She figures it out. And I think there's a part of her that enjoys doing that. Let's face it, she was a Southern belle at a time that women didn't have huge roles, right? This was an opportunity to lead a group of people, and that's precisely what her whole being was about. She wasn't going to feel fulfilled unless she did something like that, I
Yeah,
think.
I'm just curious because very often writers, in particular, launching into a process of writing a historical piece about someone very specific. The authors that I've spoken to, when I dig very deeply, I say, like I asked you before, do you see parts of you in that? Like, you're a strong woman, you're high profile, you've gone through difficulties in life, and you stand there in front of hundreds of thousands, not millions of people, often, on television and so on. It, I'm just curious why you chose Elizabeth over so many other characters in history who could have been your big sister as well.
So I did a lot of research trying to find someone to write about. And the backstory, of course, COVID, the depths of COVID, lockdowns. A lot of the young women I work with, producers, are super upset. And the whole time I'm thinking, wow, American women have accomplished a lot in the history of the
Yes.
country. I want to tell one of those stories. So I did a lot of research. I found a lot of people. But the thing about her is that she didn't have to do any of this. This was a choice. No one pushed her into a corner and she had to fight her way out. That's not what happened. She decided to do it on her own. And I so respected her for that. I respected her for how she took the responsibility on her own shoulders and decided, how she was going to contribute.
Yeah, and the responsibility that she took was magnificent. So much so, I love the way you started your book with a quote from Abraham Lincoln, paying homage to American women. Do you remember that quote or parts of it?
So Abraham Lincoln says that he is not practiced in the habit of complimenting
Right, right.
women. Maybe true, maybe not. But he says, do you have it in front of you? The second part of it is
I
do
don't
you
have
have
it
it
in
in
front
front
of
of
me.
you?
No, no.
No. I have it in front of me.
It's such a beautiful quote. Like, it's
It
very
is.
thoughtful, right?
I feel like it's too bad there are 20 million biographies on Lincoln because Lincoln's somebody I could spend 5 years with. Do you know what I mean? I would just
Yeah, yeah,
love
because he
that.
started out with mental illness, all kinds of challenges, right?
And poverty
Losing the
solved
election.
his own problem, lack of education. I mean, so here's what he says about women. I have never studied the art of paying compliments to women. All that has been said by orators and poets since the creation of the world in praise of women were applied to the women of America. It would not do them justice for their conduct during the war. I will close by saying, God bless the women of America.
Mhm.
It was a
A-
speech.
As a woman, who does again high profile stuff, is a writer, is being challenged by difficulties and so on. Do you see yourself as an emissary for other women?
I think that many younger women look at me as an example, and it's important that I step up always, which is another reason that I was public with breast cancer. I had to step up, do the right thing, show the way, um, and try to be the kind of person that they need.
How
That's
do you
what,
how do you step up? How do you do it?
well, by leading in some cases, simple things like um, how you speak, um, finding humor when other people's are anxious, you know, easy things, simple things that make a difference. I think, and I guess I'm really focused on young women, but I mean, it's might be broader than that. I feel like people look at women my age and expect them, I feel like an obligation to be responsible in what I say and how I act and to provide something uplifting, which is why I try to be upbeat a lot, you know? I mean, some days I don't feel like being upbeat, but you always feel better when you are, you know?
Right.
And just having a smile on your face always makes you feel better. And it does a lot for
Yes, it does.
yourself too,
Yes, it does.
you know? It helps you too. I mean, you're a beneficiary as well.
When
I know I meet so many people who are such
I
downers,
know.
and I mean, I just can't live there, you
It's
know?
sad though, isn't it, Jerry?
Well, it's just,
It's
you
sad. It's sad they have
know?
to live that way. I'm constantly telling people there's a way to flip this around and see the other side of it. Truth has many different faces, right?
Right, and, you know, in my business, well, okay, that hour wasn't good
Yeah,
or
yeah.
that
Right.
10 seconds wasn't great, but, you know, there'll be more tomorrow. It's, you know, we learned from it. We're moving
Jerry,
on.
because you ensconce yourself in the world of a spy, Elizabeth Van Lew, um, you carry that with you for a long time as a writer. How long did the book take you to write, by the way?
So I guess all in it was about 3 years, maybe
Yeah.
3 and a half. Like I said, I was constantly like, "Okay, how do I do this?"
Yeah.
You know, I spent a lot of time trying to figure it out. Um, yeah, there was a lot of time. I had a great editor though at Harper. Adored her, very young woman, also from the South, from a tiny town. And Hannah was Hannah's like, I think she's in her late 20s, right? And she was a mastermind at you know, not manipulating, but like running me, you know. She was very good at like making sure that she didn't say anything too harsh to disappoint me, but pointed me in the right direction. I was so impressed with her. I just thought, wow, this young lady needs to run something. I think she's fantastic.
Yeah, I find that writers really almost get synthesized with their characters, and there's a very similar relationship with their editor if it's a good one, right? You
Yeah.
become like one, right?
Yeah, loved her, loved her. She made the book better in so many ways, really taught me a lot. Um, it was funny. One day she said to me, "Well, Jerry, I couldn't do what you did." And I thought, "What?" Anyway, Avram, I'm gonna have to go. I've really
I
enjoyed
have I have
talking to you.
one last question, and I thank you for that. But I have to ask you this question. We were all just witnesses to the war between Israel and Iran. And
Yes.
at the top of that war, we watched and we saw how Israel embedded spies in Iran and therefore their accomplishments. Because you had ensconced yourself in the world of spies, when you watch this, what was your response to it?
Well, I'm always amazed by them, right? This went on for years, the way they embedded
Yeah,
themselves. I it was unbelievable. Like the dedication and the persistence and the perseverance, like what that took to me is amazing.
absolutely amazing, right? So
Yes.
one of the things that I've been doing lately to wrap things up here is I've been working with AI, trying to figure it out. Are you working with AI at all?
A little at the margins. Yeah.
Okay. So I last few
Yeah.
months I've asked AI to write a poem about my guests. So I have an ode to Jerry Willis. You ready? Here we go.
No.
Good luck.
Okay, go.
Born in 59 under August light, her path to truth burned fierce and bright. At Miami's hall with ink and pen, she led the student bold among men. Columbia's fellowship, a knight's acclaim, honed her mind and stoked her aflame. From smart money pages to Crane's sharp beat, she traced the pulse of economic heat. CNN, your bottom line, her voice took flight, guiding lives through finance night. Fox Business called, and in 2010, she anchored Truth for Women and Men. The Willis Report, a beacon clear, empowered all with knowledge dear. Her pen wove tales of wealth and lore, smart money guide, home rich and more. Yet history's call and Lincoln's lady sang of a southern belle where freedom rang. In 16 shadows fell with dread, breast cancer's fight where courage led. Through chemo storm and radiation's toll, she claimed remission, her heart still whole. A seared return, HPV's cruel guise, yet screenings caught it. Her strength the prize. With biopsy done and hysterectomy faced, she stood unbowed, her fears erased. Now, a Susan G. Coleman's flag she bears, rallying hope, spreading care. A mammogram van, her gift to save, a survivor's voice, steadfast and brave. With David by her side since '94 in Westchester, Berkshire, and Hilton Shore. Their poodle Rufus bounds through life's delight, a family's forge in love's pure light. And finally, through trials deep, she learned to see each day's a gift with gratitude free. Her Susan Komen prize shines bright. Jerry Willis, our beacon of fight.
Ah,
Did you
that's
like it?
so sweet. Oh my goodness. Yes,
It's all
that's
about you.
very
It's all
lovely.
about you.
That's
I
thank you,
use
AI.
the AI
Thank you,
exactly.
AI.
Anyways, I want to thank Jerry Wills for being with me today. It was magnificent. I enjoyed it so much, and I give you a great big
Thank
Avrum
you.
hug for your courage and for your bravery to get through what you've gone through, but even more so to share it with others and give so many people, I'm sure, incredible strength and bravery. Job well done, my friend. Job well done.
Thank you so much.
You
Absolute pleasure meeting you, and I hope the invitation to your
It is
writers
very
group
real.
is
And I
real.
thank all my viewers and listeners. Please take away from this resilience is very important. Stay with the game. Fight, 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 and good things will happen to you until we meet again. Zygazin, as they say in Yiddish, which is go in good health. And I very much appreciate you watching and listening. Thank you so much.